Hello and welcome back. Welcome back to our last segment. Yes, we are going to finish in 25 minutes, which means we only have a few minutes left to learn as much English as possible. But I think it's worth it. Sit down y creo que vale la pena. Merece la pena. I think it's worth it to spend another 25 minutes with me, another 25 minutes. Can you bear it? Can you stand it? Another 25 minutes with me? It's worth it. It's worth it. Because if you learn English well, if you really learn this language well, you will find out that the effort you have made is worth it. It's worth it for two reasons, or maybe even more. Number one, if you learn English and you learn to speak it well, people will notice and doors will open, new opportunities. And people calculate, experts in human resources calculate that knowing English well is worth €500,000 at the least. A minimum of €500,000 is the value of knowing English over a professional career. When you start working at age 23, 24, and you finish at age 65, a lot of years transpire. Cuando transcurre el tiempo, curiosamente en inglés decimos transpire, como si fuera transpirar. Transpira tiempo en inglés, no transcurre el tiempo. 40 years transpire in a career, in your career. No hace falta aquí decir professional career. En español decís carrera referente normalmente a la carrera académica, universitaria. In English, impossible. Career starts after you finish your studies. If you study to be an anthropologist and then spend the rest of your life teaching or practicing anthropology, then your career is in anthropology, but your degree at the university, in this case, was also in anthropology. But getting back to the subject of how much is the English language worth, well, according to experts, it's worth at least €500,000. If I gave you €500,000 now, would you learn English? Would you study English 2 hours, 3 hours a day, every day, if in return, a cambio, if in return I gave you €500,000, okay, would you do it? Okay, probably you would. Yeah, wow. 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, I'll do that for 3 years in exchange for, or in return for €500,000. Well, I guarantee you. For example, if I said to you, Paco, Manolo, Inés, Rafael, Rafa, listen, I'll pay you €500,000 if you spend the next 3 years taking a walk in the park for 2 hours every day. Imagine if I offered you the possibility, well, vamos a hacerlo. I will pay you €500,000 if you take a walk in the park for 2 hours every day for the next 3 years. So that means Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week, you need to go to the park and to take a walk for 2 hours every day for 2 hours for 3 years. So that's almost 1,000. That's more than 1,000 days, I think. 1,000 y pico, as you say in Spanish. 1,000 days and just a little more. All right? Every day for 2 hours. So we're talking of 2,200 hours. Walking in the park for 3 years, and in return, I will give you €500,000. Okay, €1,000,000. Is it a deal? Trato hecho? Is it a deal? Probably you would do it. I'm sure you would think about it seriously. Now, if you decide, instead of taking a walk in the park, instead of taking a walk in the park, if you decide, I will offer you a different possibility to study English 2 hours a day for 3 years. And with that, the ability you gain studying English 2 hours a day for 3 years, you will also earn €500,000 at least, and maybe €1,000,000 more than you would normally earn if you didn't speak English over your professional career, over the next 20, 30, 40 years of your career, between university age and retirement age. Experts in human resources estimate that a good command of the English language translates into at least €500,000 more in salary or in earnings. Se traduce en, translates into. En inglés, al igual que en castellano, el verbo traducir tiene su uso literal, traducir una frase, to translate a sentence, y su uso figurativo. Se traduce en una mejora, en este caso en tus ingresos. Yes, knowing English well translates into better salaries, better earnings, more opportunities. And if you don't know it, most of the interesting doors are closed. Not all. And with perseverance and stamina, you can open some of those doors without English, but it's not easy. It takes a lot of work. So, is it worth it to spend the next 25 minutes, or now the next 17 minutes with me? I think it's worth it. Is it worth it? Yes, it is. It's worth it. Question. You answered the following questions, true or false, okay? A kilo of gold is worth more than a kilo of platinum. What's worth more? What's worth more on the international commodities exchanges, gold or platinum? Do you understand? What's worth more on the international commodity exchanges? A commodity is a product that comes from the earth. It can come from metals like gold, silver, lead. Lead is plomo. Gold, silver, lead, tin, estaño, copper, cobre, platinum, platino. All of these are metals that we extract from the earth. And these metals have a price on the international market. And if you want to buy a kilo or a ton of tin, una tonelada de estaño, a los bolivianos, Bolivia is the main producer in the world of tin. If you want to buy a ton of tin, well, you know more or less the price. It's the same everywhere because the chemical composition of tin doesn't change. You don't have sometimes you can have small differences in the quality of certain minerals, yes. But basically, the question is the price. You buy from one supplier of tin or another supplier depending on the price. Which, if the price is better with one supplier, you use supplier A instead of supplier B. That's a commodity. Commodities are products from agriculture or from mining, minería, mining and agriculture, and husbandry. Husbandry? What's husbandry? La búsqueda de un marido. Looking for a husband? Is that husbandry? No. Husbandry is the word we use for la cría de animales, como ciencia de la agricultura o ciencia del campo. Basically, in the country, there are two activities, agriculture and husbandry. Often we say animal husbandry, okay? But agriculture is cultivating crops. You plant or sow crops. Sow is sembrar. Plant is realmente abrir y dejar una semilla, plantar. To plant and to sow crops is agriculture. And to raise the crops and to harvest the crops, que es recolectar. Y se habla de la cosecha de este año, se dice the harvest. Or the crop, las dos cosas valen. The crop this year is very good. The corn crop, the rice crop, the wheat crop, or the wheat harvest is very good this year. Okay, but to harvest as a verb is recolectar. La siega y luego la recolección. All right, that's the harvest. Now, agricultural products are commodities. If you want to buy rice, normally it's the same everywhere. Rice from China, from India, from Spain, from the United States, from Argentina, the rice is the same. So the question is the price. That's a commodity. And also animals. Beef from the cows. It's basically a commodity. All right? So, is it worth it? Is English a commodity? When you want an English teacher, an English class, is your first consideration simply the price? In that case, it's a commodity. I don't agree. A computer. Is a computer a commodity? Is a computer a commodity? Some computers are better than others, but most people prefer clones. Los clones, o clones, the computers. And really, Many people think that the difference between high-quality computers and normal computers is not enough to justify a decision, a buying decision, and so they buy clones. And so really, computer hardware or microprocessors, computer hardware is considered by many people to be a commodity. Okay, so the first question going back was, is a kilo of gold worth more or less than a kilo of platinum? Well, on the commodity markets, los mercados de futuros, the futures market, it's the same thing. Have you ever heard of the expression el mercado de futuros? Many people have heard of it, but they don't know what it is. Well, the commodities exchange or the futures market is where you buy future production. For example, if I'm a farmer and I own a farm in Nebraska and I grow corn, I cultivate corn, I grow corn, I plant the corn in March. Okay? Now, there is a danger. There are several dangers, but the two most important dangers is the weather. Because if the crop starts growing, it's a beautiful crop, and then suddenly, in my area of Nebraska, there's a hailstorm. Hail, H-A-I-L, escrito ail con H delante. Hail is granizo. So a hailstorm is una tormenta de granizo. If there's a hailstorm, it can destroy my crop. And then I have lost everything, even my shirt possibly, okay? So it's very dangerous. Or there could be locusts. Locusts could come. Locusts. What is locusts? Locusts looks like grasshoppers, but they come in the millions. A big black cloud of locusts come and descend on my crops and the crops in the area, other areas of my county, and they destroy the crop. And in the county next door, they don't. So it affects me. Another thing could be a drought. A third possibility would be a drought, and I could lose my corn. You know, you expect to have rain, April, it rains. You say in Spanish, marzo ventoso, abril lluvioso, saca mayo, florido y hermoso, okay? And in English, we have something similar. March winds bring April showers, que son aguaceros, bring May flowers. So it's the same. However, if it doesn't rain in April, then me, as a corn farmer, I'll start getting worried, looking up at the sky and says, it hasn't rained this month, maybe in May. In Spain, it rains a lot in May. San Isidro in Madrid is always wet. And the Feria del Libro in Madrid in Mayo is always wet, Mayo y Junio. So it rains a bit later in the center of Spain. But if it doesn't rain in May either, then I say, ooh, we have a problem here. We have a drought. D-R-O-U-G-H-T. Difficult spelling, drought. Drought, and that is una sequía. So that's a third danger. So, me, as a corn farmer in the middle of Nebraska, I decide to sell my crop in January. And you say, wait, I don't understand. To sell your crop in January? But in January, there's snow on the ground in Nebraska. There's snow up to here in Nebraska. And the temperature is 20 degrees below zero in Nebraska in the winter. How can you sell corn in Nebraska in January? It's easy. I go to the futures market. I call and I perform a transaction. And I sell my future crop in July or August, which is the harvest, la recolección in August normally with corn. And I sell my future crop to another person, a third party, un tercero, who assumes the risk. But probably I sell my corn at a very modest or more modest price. I can make the decision, I can wait. I don't sell my crop and I wait until August and I sell it at a high price, maybe. Because if other people suffer locusts or other people suffer hailstorms and I don't, I'm lucky and the price is good. But that's taking a risk. Some farmers like to take risks. Others don't. Some farmers prefer to be more conservative. Maybe they have a wife and 3 children on the farm living, and they can't afford to take excessive risks, okay? So they go to the futures market and they sell the future, their future crop that will appear 8 or 9 months later. And another person assumes the risk, okay? It's a very risky market, el mercado de futuros, the future market. And we also call it the commodities exchange. Es la bolsa de productos de la tierra. And it includes gold, silver, rice, wheat, barley, que es cebada, corn, and beef, pork, lamb, all the different types of foods as well, spinach as well. Okay, so the question, aquí hoy no progresamos mucho, ¿eh? The question is a kilo of gold worth more or worth less than a kilo of platinum? It's worth less. Platinum on the international market is worth more. It's a scarcer resource. Gold is a very scarce resource too. Gold is beautiful. This ring is made of gold, all right? This ring is made of gold. Can you see it? It's made of gold. Now, this ring is, I don't know how much this ring cost. My wife bought it for me when we got married, or just before we got married. She bought it. Probably it cost about, I don't know, 100 euros maybe? So is this ring worth only 100 euros? Is this ring, in your opinion, worth 100 euros? Probably not. It's probably worth less. Because if I put it in a fire and I melt it, lo fundo, and I sell the gold is probably worth 15 euros, not much, or even less. So this ring is maybe worth 10 or 15 euros only. However, this ring could be worth millions, the sentimental value, because my wife gave it to me, all right, and I love my wife. So this ring is worth a lot. This ring is worth a lot. So we have 3 ways of applying the value of an object, in this case a sentimental object, and one is the price you pay for something. This pen probably cost 1 euro, 2 euros. But for me, it's worth more because I've been using this pen for over a year. It's a very practical, very useful, and very loyal pen, the ink. And so for me, it's worth more than 1 euro, really. It's worth more. The cost was 1 euro, but it's worth more. But in the pure case of el valor de las cosas aquí, a kilo of platinum is worth more than a kilo of gold. A kilo of gold is worth a lot. I think an ounce of gold, una onza, an ounce of gold is about $600 or $700, about 500 euros now. The price is going up on the international markets. It always happens. The price of gold goes up, and the price of platinum too, go up when there's danger, dark clouds on the horizon. El horizonte, nubes oscuras. Dark clouds on the horizon that predict that there could be a recession. In that case, some people take their money and they look for a safe refuge, refugio seguro, un puerto seguro para su dinero, and they buy gold. And it puts pressure on the international prices, and the price goes up. So the price of gold is going up, but the price of platinum is still more because platinum is a scarcer resource. Recursos naturales, natural resources. It's a scarce resource. Gold is a scarce resource. It's not easy to find gold. There's a lot of gold in South Africa. There's a lot of gold in Russia. There's a lot of gold in the United States, but not as much as in South Africa and Russia. It's not easy to find gold. Gold, of course, is used for jewelry, and it's also used for certain industrial processes. But it's not very abundant. Abundante. No abunde el oro. It's not an abundant resource. It's relatively scarce. Escrito scarce, escaso. Un recurso escaso. Time, el tiempo, mi tiempo, tu tiempo. My time, your time, is a scarce resource as well. Now, platinum is even scarcer. There's less platinum in the world than gold. And platinum is used also for certain jewelries, but basically platinum is used for industrial processes. Probably the most important use, probably, con toda probabilidad, probably the most important use of platinum is the catalytic converter in your car. You remember many years ago, driving cars, the engines were not lead-free, sin plomo. Decimos libre de plomo en inglés, lead-free. Como algunos teléfonos son hands-free, okay? Manos libres. Now cars are lead-free. The cars only admit gasoline that is lead-free. But in order to work well, you need a converter. It's a catalyst in the engine, and that's made of platinum. That means every car and truck and bus in the world needs platinum. And so that makes it very, very expensive. And platinum is a scarce resource, so it's natural that the price is very high. So a kilo of platinum is worth more. Fijaos como lo digo. To be worth is valer. El valor intrínseco. Okay? No el valor de un precio, necesariamente. El precio no siempre representa el valor de un objeto o de un servicio. The price. For example, the price of this English class is free. I'm giving this class to you for free. How much are you paying for this class? Probably no, you're paying nothing. Your only cost is time. Sitting in front of the television screen and looking at me as I'm talking. And I hope listening to me and registering some of the forms and structures I'm using for you. So, is it worth it? The time you spend? Es que en inglés usamos spend para gastar dinero y pasar o dedicar tiempo. Porque es un bien también escaso el tiempo. Igual que el dinero, es un bien escaso. No abunda para todo el mundo. For some people, yeah, but not for many. All right, so time. Time is a scarce resource. Time is a scarce resource. Now, to finish, a kilo of platinum is worth more than a kilo of gold. All right. Knowing English is worth more than knowing Chinese, in my opinion, for most activities. During this century, el siglo XXI, the 21st century, I personally believe that English will be the lingua franca for the entire century. I don't foresee, no preveo, I don't foresee, se escribe foresee. I don't foresee Chinese or Spanish or Russian or any other major language supplanting English as the lingua franca in this century. Next century, who knows? So, it's worth it. It's worth it to spend the time to learn English. Because if you or your children or your grandchildren in 20, 30, or 40 years don't speak English, it's going to be the equivalent of somebody today who is born, for example, in the north of Gerona, and they grow up with Catalan and they don't hear Spanish. Can you imagine? A child is born in the north of Lérida or in the north of Gerona, and that child grows up in a Catalan-speaking home, goes to a Catalan-speaking school, doesn't watch national television, and by the time that child is 23, that child doesn't understand Spanish well. Can you imagine the handicap that person has for opportunities? Okay. Catalan is an important language, of course, but to live in this country, it's very important to know Spanish. And you can imagine the handicap this child would have. Well, you or your children or your grandchildren, if in 20 years, in one generation or maximum 2 generations, if they don't know English, it's almost, in my opinion, the equivalent of that child in Gerona who doesn't know Spanish. You are going to be tremendously handicapped, or your children. So it's worth it to take the time, to spend the money, and to spend the effort to improve your English. It's worth it. Vale la pena. It's worth it. And with that, no hemos terminado. We need to continue with worth, okay? But I'll be back another day to help you. So it's been a pleasure today. I'm glad you were with me. And I'll see you again very soon. Take care.